Welcome to Handcrafted by J.R. Broussard. I'm Greg Broussard, and today we're going to make a charcuterie Christmas tree board. I got this Christmas tree printed at one of the local printers. My brother sent it over there for me. He uses him all the time, and he's a really good guy. He printed my Christmas tree the size that I needed, and this is 18 by 14 inches. And I'm just going to put it on this piece of plywood as a backing, and I'm just going to use a razor and a straight edge to cut this out. I want this thing as big as I can get it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut to the outside of the big black line, and that'll be the size of the tree. We'll just follow the lines and cutting the tree out. Look at all my corners. Here is our Christmas tree. Now we're going to attach this on our material that we're going to use for the template. I'm going to lay the tree down face down. This is the side that's going to stick to the board. I'm just using the 3M adhesive, spray adhesive. And I should have them print 2 Christmas trees because often I mess up when I'm making a template. So hopefully won't mess this up. So starting from the middle, just kind of line it up on my board and push it down. All right, the start of our template. What I like to do is come in with a pencil. I'm just barely running this pencil on the thickness of that paper as my guide, and I'm putting a pencil line here. The reason why I'm doing that is if this template decides to not cooperate and it comes up in the process, then I'll at least have a pencil line to go back to. So I'm just going to score a line all the way around the Christmas tree. I'm going to use this smaller bandsaw, and this blade is 3/16 and it's 4 TPI. This is my favorite blade in this thing. It works really well. I think it's going to offer the less tear out for this. So cut the major of the stock off this. I can't cut this out, these pieces out on the bandsaw because I have to flip it over and go at it from the other way. And of course it's marked only from one side, so I'll connect the dots. I'll punch a hole in here all the way through, and then I'll punch a hole. Let's see, follow this. So if I draw a line from here to here, to the corner of that, that'll be close enough. I'll punch a hole on this side over here. That's too close. So I'll draw a line from here to the corner, and I can connect these 2 lines, and then I need to punch a hole here. And draw a couple lines. We'll get our straight edge, and we will draw a line here. That'll give me something to follow. Where else did we punch? We punched here, and we can take that line to the corner of this. That'll give us a safety range right to the corner. Now we have a basic Christmas tree shape, and we just have to clean it up to our line, and then this is going to be our template to cut the charcuterie board. Now we've got it all cleaned up with the files and everything. I'm going to come back with some just regular super glue and just let it squish into the end grain, kind of spreading them with my finger. And trying to glue, the fibers down into it, because like right here it's already starting to split. I'll glue that down and I'll get some accelerant, and then we'll make it dry super fast, and then I'll come back and I'll get all the little fuzzies off. Just makes the template last longer. I thought this one was a little bit too small. Imagine serving food on something like this. It's a little tiny, so I went ahead and made a larger one. Same process as I made this one. And instead of cutting my material like I normally do, I bought 100 of these pieces of oak for $1 a piece. And there's nothing wrong with them. It's not treated or anything. The issue is that it takes so long to prepare this to make it flat and true and even like this board here. It takes a lot of time to get that going. So I started thinking, what's more worth my time? Doing this or buying something that's already pre-made? So what I did is I'm doing an experiment, is I bought this board here from the the big store, the big box company with the white letters and the blue background. I bought it from there, and this is 4 feet long by 25 inches, and I can get 3 trees out of this. Cost me $116. So is my time worth making a board, 3 of these, and spending all that time gluing them, cutting them, squaring them up, making flat and all that, or just buying one and just cutting it out? So we'll find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the trees out, and we're going to make one of these out of this board. So I just drew this on the plastic just so I can kind of get a feel of what I can do with it. I can get 3 out of it. So let's take this plastic off and see what happens here. I don't even know what it's going to look when I start cutting. I don't know what the inside of this stuff is going to look like. I'm hoping it's going to be pristine, but we'll find out. I'm just going to use my little square to try to keep this thing as straight as I can. And I'm going to let it hang over more at the bottom so there'll be more of a handle or part down here. And I'll just trace it out, and then we'll rough cut it. And we'll see what happens with this guy. I'm going to make one diagonal cut to get rid of most of the material. I have it held down with my holdfasts, and I put my cut line right down the center between my tail vise and the bench. And I know it's kind of sketchy, but see if we can do without breaking something, splintering it. This looks pretty good. I thought there'd be some dead spaces in there. Here's one here. I thought it was going to be bad. That's okay. I'm going to use this bandsaw here. The issue is that I've got to unplug everything, and I've got to plug it into this massive extension cord. This is the only thing that can be plugged in. Otherwise, it'll blow the breakers. So I just have to do this like this when I use this machine. So we'll just have to use the light coming in from outside. These are the cuts that I can make on that machine. Now I could do what I did when I made this, mark it, flip it over, and draw my lines, and then go that way. Don't want to do that, so that's out. The other option is I can use a handsaw to cut this, or I can use a jigsaw. So the jigsaw blade kind of drifts, So I'm going to try the jigsaw to see if I can cut slow to eliminate that bend in that blade, and maybe we can get the rest of this done. If it starts to do it too badly, I'll do it by hand. I'll do it hand saw. Nope. I'll try something else. This is the line I did with the jigsaw, and it's kind of, you know, coming in at an angle. So I'm going to make the curve. Well, the curve. Make the line more straight. Now I can put my bigger saw and start there. This line's going all kind of crazy from the bandsaw, so I'm going to cut this off and then start another new line with the saw. So let me turn this around and I'll cut that off, that little piece right there. Let's drop this down the inside, flip it, and draw my line. I guess connect the dots, huh? Nothing straight on here. So now I should be able to cut this side on the tree. That's all I gotta cut. Now, I just have to stay away from my line because I don't want to be too close. So this will be a little bit distant. So let's cut that on the bandsaw. Well, it worked. I'm all inside my lines, but I did discover an issue. When I put this down here and I use the bit, and I'll show you the bit in a minute, there's nothing for it to follow. So I'd have to put a piece here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this piece off, and then we can use the bit. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this off, and we'll tape this down. I use this double-sided carpet tape, and it's super sticky, and I'll put a few pieces down, and I'll stick it on. Okay. This is a flush trim bit, and I forget the shank size of the smaller one, but this is a 1/2 inch one, and I've got to use a larger one. And what this does is it follows the template. This bearing follows exactly the template that I made, and that cutter is exactly the same distance. So as that follows that template, it'll spin and it'll cut this into this shape. So let's go to the router table and see what happens with this. Let me show you how this router table works. So this is a plunge router, and this is a motor from one of those chairs that you sit in, the recliners, and has the button and you can adjust it. And I'll put a speed controller on it. So what this does is this will push this. I'll speed up so you can see it. So it'll raise and lower my bit as I need to, so I can adjust it, and I can slow the bit down so I can make little fine adjustments with my switch here. So that's how this deal works. Once I get it locked in, know where I want it, I'll lock the router so it doesn't move. So I'm going to adjust it. So I want this bearing to ride on the template. So I'll adjust my router bit just a little bit, and I'll find out if that's, I don't want the blade to cut into the template, so I want it exactly at the right height. So it needs to be a little bit higher, I think. I was moving along just fine, and I had a really bad kickback and it tore into it, and I bent my blade. You can see it wobbles around now. So this project is on standby until I get another blade, and I don't know what to do about that situation there. That's not a sellable product, so I have to figure that out. Maybe I can change the template and just put a temporary board on there and follow that. That's really deep though. Okay, on to the store to get another bit. I let this sit for like a week or so. I got frustrated because it got a big giant huge tear out right here, and also I bent this blade doing it. Got another one, and the way that I'm going to fix this tear out is I'm going to move my template over a little bit, retrace it, cut it out, follow it with the follower bit or whatever this thing is, right? And then move it to the other side and do the same exact thing. So I'm going to trace this now, and then I'm going to recut this. If I can just line this up, and I will trace the tree. That way we can get rid of the tear out. Since I cut that bad part off, I think I'm just going to try to flush trim this portion here and see what happens. I may have to cut this little part off, but I think I can just flush trim this and just call that, because all this looks pretty good up here. It's this part here. This might be too much meat on here though. Can't take that much off. I'm going to try to see what happens. If this doesn't work, I'll thin my material. So a friend of mine suggested I do this a different way. I was going to put this back on with the new bit, use the follower bit, you know, a tracing bit, whatever this is called. But I'm having problems with it. It's digging out. But the new one will probably work. She says, why don't you just clean it up by hand? So from the advice of a friend of mine, Gretchen, I'm just going to come through and clean everything up by hand, then come with the machine around the corners. So I'm just going to come in with some planes and some files and sanders, and I'm just going to clean the edges up and then round it. Put some oils on it, and we're going to call this done. This is super excited now. I got to figure out a way to do this. I'm going to put a little round over on this with a round over bit, and I always do a test piece to make sure that's the depth that I want. And we're just going to hopefully not tear something out doing this. So we need to push it, the blade this way. So we'll start right here. Now that we finished it, I'm just going to spray it with water and just raise the grain, and then we'll sand it down again. That way they don't have to, it won't get all fuzzy, because it'll get fuzzy once they get it wet and wash it, even though I'm going to put oils on it. So to keep it getting fuzzy, I'm going to squirt it with water and do that for them. So, you know, what you're supposed to do anyway, because it's just nice to do that for somebody. And we'll let this dry for a little bit. Now that this is dry, you can see the fuzzies that came up on it, like right here. It's all fuzzy. It's hard to see it on the surface, but it's all fuzzy. So I'm going to go ahead and sand this thing down one more time. I'm going to use this vibrating sander on the roundovers. This one is too aggressive and it'll change the shape of it. This will kind of ride the curve without changing the shape, so I use this for all my roundovers and stuff. The spots I can't get to with the sanders, I come through. This is just a real thin piece of board with sandpaper glued on it. Okay, I think this is done. I'm going to blow it off with air, get all the stuff, dust out of it, and then I'm going to coat it with butcher block oil, and this one will be done, and we can deliver this. It looks really good. There's one thing I forgot to do is to put my maker's mark on it. So I put a little water down always because it makes the edges more crisp when you burn it. I can see the center there. So I'm going to burn it on there. And there's our maker's mark. And I'll come back with some 220 and just barely touch that. Okay, there's our maker's mark. Now we get to put our butcher block oil on it. And of course that's the best part, because that's when the color comes out and pops. I'm going to add the butcher block oils and the butcher block conditioner. I'm going to let the oil soak in probably about an hour between coats. I do 3 or 4 coats, and we'll wipe it in really well, and then we'll keep wiping it about every hour to get the excess off. When it stops taking this, then I'll put the butcher block conditioner on. Normally I can get 2 coats in there with this, so we'll see if we can do 3 coats with the cutting board oil. We're just going to apply it generously and just wipe it in all over the entire board and let it soak in. Let it take as much as it wants. The branding came out really well. It took the oils very nicely, and it's ready to go. I may put one more coat on before I ship it off. The Christmas tree charcuterie board came out really awesome. Looks really good. Super excited to get this delivered. So we're going to put this in the mail tomorrow morning and send it off to the customer.